I never thought my life would become one of those stories you read about online, the ones that make you gasp and think, that could never happen to me. But here I am, sitting in what used to be our bedroom, now just my bedroom, writing this all down because if I don't get it out, I think I might actually lose my mind. My name is Sarah, and I've been married to Michael for 17 years. We met in college, one of those fairy tale meetings where he spilled coffee on my economics textbook and insisted on buying me a new one. He showed up the next day with the book and a rose. I was smitten. We got married 2 years later, and I thought I'd found my forever person. Michael came into the marriage with a son, Jake, from a previous relationship. Jake was only 5 when we got married, and I loved that little boy from the moment I met him. His biological mother had abandoned them when Jake was just a baby, so I was the only mother he'd ever really known. I adopted him legally when he was 7, and he started calling me Mom. Those were some of the happiest moments of my life. Jake was always an active, energetic kid. He played soccer, loved skateboarding, and was constantly on the move. That's why what happened 5 years ago was so devastating for all of us. Jake was 15 when he had the accident. He was skateboarding with friends when he attempted a trick on a halfpipe and fell badly. The doctors said he'd sustained a severe spinal injury. After months of treatments, therapy, and consultations with specialists across the country, we were told that Jake would likely never walk again. I watched my vibrant teenage son transform into someone I barely recognized. The depression hit him hard. He withdrew from his friends, dropped out of school, and spent most of his days in his room. Michael and I both struggled with it, but we tried to stay strong for Jake. We converted the downstairs guest room into a bedroom for him, installed ramps throughout the house, and I quit my job as a marketing director to become his full-time caregiver. Michael kept working, of course. He was a regional manager for a manufacturing company, which meant he traveled frequently. Before Jake's accident, I didn't mind the travel. It was part of his job and the money was good. But after the accident, those trips became more frequent and longer. He'd be gone for weeks at a time, leaving me alone to care for Jake, manage the household, and deal with the crushing weight of our new reality. I'm not going to lie and say our marriage stayed perfect through all of this. How could it? We were both grieving the life we thought we'd have, the future we'd imagined for Jake. Michael became distant, cold even. When he was home, he'd spend hours in his office with the door closed. He started sleeping in the spare room upstairs, claiming he didn't want to disturb me when he came home late from work. We barely talked anymore, and when we did, it was usually about Jake's medical appointments or household bills. But I stayed. I stayed because I believed in our vows, in our family. I stayed because Jake needed stability, and I thought that once we got through this difficult period, Michael and I would find our way back to each other. I stayed because after 17 years, you don't just give up when things get hard. About 6 months ago, Michael started going on even more business trips. He said the company was expanding and needed him to oversee new facilities in different states. He'd be gone for 2, sometimes 3 weeks at a time. When I asked questions, he'd get irritated and accuse me of not supporting his career. So I stopped asking. During one of his longer absences, I noticed Jake seemed different. Not worse, but different. He was spending more time on his computer, and I'd catch him with this odd expression on his face like he was working through a complicated problem. When I asked if he was okay, he'd just nod and change the subject. I figured it was typical teenage stuff and gave him his space. Then 3 weeks ago, everything changed. Michael came home from one of his trips on a Tuesday afternoon. He walked into the kitchen where I was preparing dinner and said, "Sarah, we need to talk." My heart sank. Those 4 words never lead anywhere good. I turned off the stove and sat down at the kitchen table, my hands already trembling. "I can't do this anymore," he said, not even looking at me. "I haven't been happy for a long time. I think we both know this marriage has been over for years. I want a divorce." I felt like I'd been punched in the stomach. Yes, things had been difficult. Yes, we'd grown apart. But divorce? After everything we'd been through together? "Michael, please," I said, my voice breaking. "We can go to counseling. We can work on this. It's been a hard few years with Jake's accident, but we can get through it together." He shook his head. "It's not just about Jake. I've been unhappy for longer than that. I need to think about my own happiness, Sarah. I'm 43 years old and I feel like my life is passing me by. I started crying then, ugly crying, the kind where you can barely breathe. What about Jake? He needs us both. He needs stability. Jake will adjust, Michael said coldly. Kids are resilient. And honestly, you're the one he's closest to anyway. You're his primary caregiver. My being here or not won't make much difference to him. That stung more than anything else he could have said. Michael was Jake's biological father, and hearing him dismiss his own son so casually made me see him in a completely different light. When? I asked. When did you decide this? I've been thinking about it for over a year, he admitted. I just needed time to get my affairs in order. Get his affairs in order. What a phrase. I didn't know then just how literal that statement was. He told me he'd stay in the house until we figured out the logistics, but he wanted to move forward with the divorce as quickly as possible. He'd already consulted with a lawyer. He had everything planned out. And I, foolish me, had no idea it was coming. That night, I lay in bed alone and cried until I had no tears left. 17 years. 17 years of my life, and he decided it was over with all the emotion of someone canceling a subscription service. The next few days were a blur. Michael moved his things into the upstairs guest room and started working from home more, which I found odd given his previous excuse for being away so much. We barely spoke except for necessary household coordination. I told Jake that his father and I were having some problems and might be separating. He took it quietly, just nodding, but I could see the pain in his eyes. I started looking into divorce lawyers, trying to understand what our separation would look like. Michael made good money, but I'd given up my career to care for Jake. I was terrified about how I'd support myself and Jake's ongoing medical needs. Then came last Wednesday, the day everything exploded. I had a rare appointment that afternoon, a consultation with a divorce attorney that I'd scheduled during Jake's usual nap time. Michael was supposedly in his home office on a conference call. I told Jake I'd be gone for about 2 hours and made sure he had everything he needed within reach. The attorney's office was only 20 minutes away, but the consultation went longer than expected. We were discussing asset division and custody arrangements, and I lost track of time. When I checked my phone after the meeting, I had 7 missed calls from Jake and 3 frantic text messages. "Mom, come home now. Emergency. Please hurry." My heart stopped. I ran to my car and called Jake back, but he didn't answer. I called Michael. No answer. I drove home breaking every speed limit, my mind racing through terrible possibilities. Had Jake fallen? Was he hurt? Was there a medical emergency? I pulled into our driveway and ran into the house. "Jake! Jake, where are you?" "In the kitchen, Mom," his voice called out. I rushed to the kitchen and stopped dead in my tracks. Jake was standing upright, perfectly balanced, his hands on the kitchen counter. Next to him was the stove, and I could smell gas in the air. "Jake, oh my God, Jake, you're standing." I stammered, my brain unable to process what I was seeing. "How are you? What happened?" "Mom," he said, his voice shaky but clear. I had to. I smelled the gas leak from my room. I called Dad, but he didn't answer. I called you and you didn't answer. I couldn't just sit there and let the house fill with gas. So I got up. "You got up," I repeated stupidly. "You just got up?" He looked at me with tears in his eyes. "Mom, I need to tell you something. I've been able to walk for almost 3 months. The room started spinning. "What?" "I'm so sorry," he said, and now he was crying too. "I'm so sorry. It started about 4 months ago. I was doing my physical therapy exercises in bed, and I felt a tingling in my legs. Then one day I could wiggle my toes. I didn't tell anyone because I wasn't sure if it was real or if it would last. But it kept getting better, and about 3 months ago I stood up for the first time. I couldn't speak. I just stared at my son, the son I'd been caring for, bathing, dressing, pushing in a wheelchair for 5 years, standing in front of me like it was the most natural thing in the world. "Why?" I finally managed to ask. "Why didn't you tell us?" Jake's face crumpled. "Because of Dad." "What about Dad?" "Mom, you need to sit down." I sat at the kitchen table, my legs unable to support me anymore. Jake turned off the gas valve on the stove and opened the windows, then sat across from me. "A few months ago, I got curious about Dad's business trips," he began. "He was gone so much, and when he was home he seemed different. Happier but not with us. Like he had a secret. So I started investigating. Investigating. I know it was wrong to snoop, but I couldn't help it. I hacked into his laptop one night when he left it downstairs. I found his emails, his text messages, his calendar. Mom, Dad's been having an affair. The gas smell in the room suddenly made sense because I felt like I couldn't breathe. An affair. Her name is Vanessa, Jake said, his voice flat. She works for the same company. They've been together for almost 2 years. She lives in Phoenix, which is why Dad's been taking so many business trips there. Mom, it gets worse. I didn't think it could get worse. They have a daughter together. She's 14 months old. The world stopped. Michael had a child. A baby. With another woman. While I was at home caring for his son, sacrificing everything for our family, he was building a whole new family with someone else. How long have you known? I whispered. 3 months. Right around the time I started being able to walk again. That's why I didn't tell anyone. I was so angry, so hurt. I didn't know what to do with the information. I thought about telling you 1,000 times, but I didn't want to hurt you. And I didn't want to tell Dad because I wanted him to suffer the way he was making you suffer. Jake pulled out his phone and showed me everything. Emails between Michael and Vanessa, talking about their real life together in Phoenix. Photos of Michael holding a baby girl, smiling broader than I'd seen him smile in years. Text messages where he called Vanessa his soulmate, and talked about how he was finally getting everything in order to leave his obligation here. His obligation? That's what I was. That's what Jake was. There's more, Jake said quietly. I found financial records. Dad's been funneling money to a separate account for over a year. He's been preparing to leave with as much as possible, and leave us with as little as he can legally get away with. I felt numb. Completely numb. 17 years of marriage, and I'd been nothing but an obligation to get away from. When I heard him come home today, Jake continued, I smelled the gas. The pilot light on the stove must have blown out or something. I tried calling you both, but nobody answered. I realized that if I didn't do something, the house could explode or we could die from the gas. So I got up. I had to. I looked at my son, this brave, strong young man who'd been carrying such a heavy secret while literally learning to walk again. I'm so sorry, Mom, he said. I should have told you sooner. About everything. I stood up and hugged him, really hugged him, feeling him stand strong on his own 2 feet. You have nothing to apologize for, I said. Nothing. You saved us today. In more ways than one. That's when we heard the front door open. Sarah? Jake? What's with all the windows open? Michael's voice called from the entryway. Jake and I looked at each other. I saw the fear in his eyes, but also the determination. It's okay, I told him. We're going to face this together. Michael walked into the kitchen and froze when he saw Jake standing there. Jake? How are you standing? I've been able to walk for 3 months, Dad, Jake said, his voice steady. Surprise. Michael's face went through several expressions, shock, confusion, and then something that looked almost like guilt. 3 months? Why didn't you tell us? This is incredible. We need to call your doctors, we need to. We need to talk about Vanessa, I said quietly. The color drained from Michael's face. What? Vanessa, I repeated. And your daughter. Emma, isn't it? That's her name, right? Michael looked at Jake, and I saw the realization dawn on him. You went through my things. You've been living a double life, Jake shot back. For 2 years. You have another family. Another daughter. While Mom's been here taking care of me, sacrificing everything, you've been playing house in Phoenix. It's not like that, Michael started, but his voice was weak. Then what is it like? I asked. Please explain it to me. Explain how you've been stealing from our family to fund your new one. Explain how you were planning to leave us with nothing. Explain how you could look me in the eye every day, while you were building a life with someone else. Michael sank into a chair, his head in his hands. For a long moment he didn't speak. Then, I fell in love with her. I didn't mean for it to happen, but it did. With her I feel alive again. I feel like myself. Here I just feel trapped. Trapped? Jake repeated, his voice cold. I'm your son, and I made you feel trapped. Mom gave up her career, her life to take care of me, and that made you feel trapped. So your solution was to abandon us and start over with a new family. I wasn't abandoning you, Michael protested weakly. I was going to make sure you both were taken care of. By hiding assets? I asked. By consulting divorce lawyers and planning to leave us with the bare minimum? That's your idea of taking care of us. Michael had no answer. He just sat there, the man I'd loved for 17 years, and I realized I didn't know him at all. Maybe I never had. I want you out, I said. Tonight. Pack your things and leave. We'll communicate through lawyers from now on. Sarah, please. No, I said firmly. You don't get to please me anymore. You made your choice. You chose Vanessa and Emma. You chose to betray your family. You chose to lie and steal and prepare to abandon your paralyzed son. Except he's not paralyzed anymore, is he? And he saw exactly who you really are. Michael looked at Jake, who stared back at him with an expression I'd never seen before. It was disappointment mixed with anger and something else, finality. I don't want to see you right now, Dad, Jake said quietly. Maybe not ever. You need to go. I watched Michael stand up, his shoulders slumped, and walk out of the kitchen. We heard him go upstairs, heard him moving around in the guest room, heard him making phone calls. An hour later, he came back downstairs with 2 suitcases. He stopped at the kitchen doorway. I never meant to hurt either of you. But you did, I said. Intentionally or not, you destroyed this family. You don't get to play the victim now. He opened his mouth like he wanted to say something else, then closed it again. He walked out the front door, and I heard his car start and drive away. Jake and I stood in the kitchen in silence for a long moment. Mom, Jake said finally, can I show you something? He walked, over to the counter and pulled out a folder. Inside were printouts of bank statements, emails, text messages, everything documenting Michael's affair and financial manipulation. I've been putting this together for weeks, he explained. I knew you'd need evidence for the divorce. I didn't know when or how to give it to you, but I wanted to be ready. I looked at my son, this incredible human being, and felt a surge of pride so strong it almost knocked me over. You did all this while relearning to walk? He shrugged. I had a lot of time on my hands, and I was motivated. I couldn't stand watching him treat you like you didn't matter. You've been everything to me, Mom. Everything. You gave up your whole life to take care of me, and he couldn't even stay faithful to you. He couldn't even appreciate what he had. I hugged Jake again and we both cried. But this time they weren't tears of pain or shock. They were tears of release, of relief, of facing a hard truth and coming out the other side. The next few weeks were chaos. I hired a divorce attorney who practically salivated when I showed her Jake's evidence. With documented proof of adultery and hidden assets, Michael's position was severely compromised. The lawyer he'd consulted had apparently given him bad advice based on the lies he'd told them. When faced with the reality of what Jake had uncovered, Michael's new lawyer recommended he settle quickly and generously. Jake's recovery became public, and his doctors were amazed. Apparently, his case was one of those rare situations where the initial prognosis was too pessimistic. With the intensive physical therapy he'd been doing on his own, combined with some natural healing, he'd regained function in his legs. They wanted to study his case, write papers about it. Jake agreed, hoping it might help other people in similar situations. The divorce was finalized 2 months ago. I got the house, a significant portion of our savings that Michael had tried to hide, and substantial alimony. Jake chose to live with me, which wasn't surprising given everything that had happened. Michael has visitation rights, but Jake hasn't chosen to use them yet. I don't push him. That's his decision to make when and if he's ready. Michael married Vanessa last month. I know because Jake told me. He keeps tabs on his father through social media, though he won't explain why. I think part of him is still processing the betrayal, trying to understand how the man who raised him could do what he did. As for me, I'm rebuilding. I started taking online courses to update my marketing skills. The industry has changed a lot in 5 years, but I'm catching up quickly. I've been on a few job interviews and I'm optimistic about my prospects. Jake is back in school, finishing up his senior year. He's even joined the soccer team again, which has been beautiful to watch. We're healing, Jake and I. Slowly but surely, we're building a new life together, one that doesn't include Michael's lies and betrayals. Some days are harder than others. I still have moments where I wonder what I did wrong, what I could have done differently. But then I remember that his choices were his own. I didn't make him have an affair. I didn't make him steal from his family. I didn't make him abandon his son. Those were his decisions and he has to live with them. Jake and I have grown closer through all of this. He's not just my son anymore. He's my friend, my ally, my partner in surviving the unsurvivable. He's shown me strength and resilience that I didn't know a person could have. When I think about how he silently carried the weight of knowing about his father's betrayal while literally learning to walk again, I'm amazed by his courage. We talk about it sometimes late at night when neither of us can sleep. He tells me about the conflict he felt, knowing the truth but not wanting to hurt me. He tells me about the anger that fueled his physical therapy, how every step he took felt like a step toward justice. He tells me about the day he realized he could have told the truth at any time but chose to wait, to gather evidence, to protect me in the most meaningful way he knew how. "I wanted you to have ammunition," he told me one night. "I wanted you to have everything you needed to come out of this okay. Because you deserved better than what he was planning to give you." I remind him that he didn't have to do that it wasn't his responsibility. But he just shrugs and says, "You took care of me for 5 years when you didn't have to. You loved me like I was your own from the day you met me. You gave up everything for me. This was the least I could do." The truth is, I did love Jake like he was my own. I still do. He is my son in every way that matters. And watching him stand up, literally and figuratively, to protect me and expose his father's betrayal showed me that the love I poured into him wasn't wasted. He became exactly the kind of person I hoped he'd be. Strong, principled, loyal, and brave. Last week, something happened that I want to share. Jake came home from school with a form for me to fill out for his college applications. One of the questions asked about his parents and their occupations. "What should I put for Dad?" he asked me. I told him to put whatever he felt was honest. He thought about it for a moment, then wrote, "Michael Fletcher Estranged." Under my name he wrote, "Sarah Fletcher, my mom, my hero." When I saw it, I started crying. He hugged me and said, "It's true, Mom. You're the hero of this story. Not me, not anyone else. You." But he's wrong. We're both heroes. We survived something that could have destroyed us. We faced betrayal and heartbreak and came out stronger. We stood up when we could have stayed down. Sometimes people ask me if I hate Michael. The honest answer is no. I'm angry, yes. I'm hurt. I'm disappointed. But I don't hate him. Hating him would give him too much power over my life. And I've already given him 17 years. I won't give him any more. What I've learned from all of this is that you can't control other people's choices. You can only control your own responses. Michael chose to betray our family. He chose to lie and steal and build a life based on deception. Those were his choices, and they say everything about who he is and nothing about who I am or what I'm worth. I also learned that sometimes the people who hurt you the most are the ones you never saw coming. I thought I knew Michael. I thought we were solid, that even though we'd grown apart, we had a foundation strong enough to rebuild on. I was wrong. But being wrong doesn't make me a failure. It makes me human. And I learned that strength can come from the most unexpected places. I never imagined that my wheelchair-bound son would be the one to expose his father's affair and save me from financial ruin. But Jake did exactly that. He stood up in every sense of the word, and he showed me what real love and loyalty look like. People tell me all the time how strong I am, how impressed they are that I'm moving forward with such grace. But I don't always feel strong. Some mornings I wake up and the weight of everything hits me all over again. Some nights I lie in bed and wonder if I'll ever trust anyone again. Some days I'm so angry I could scream. But then I hear Jake laughing in the next room, or I see him walking down the stairs like it's the most natural thing in the world, and I remember why I keep going. I keep going for him. I keep going for me. I keep going because the alternative is to let Michael's betrayal define the rest of my life, and I refuse to give him that power. I'm 41 years old. I have a brilliant son who stood up for me in every way possible. I have a whole future ahead of me, and for the first time in years I get to decide what that future looks like. Not Michael. Not anyone else. Just me. And you know what? That future looks pretty good. Jake starts college in the fall. He's been accepted to several schools and is still deciding where he wants to go. Part of me wants him to stay close, to choose the local university so I don't have to let him go yet. But I know he needs to spread his wings, to live his life without the shadow of everything that's happened. Whatever he decides, I'll support him. As for me, I got a job offer yesterday. It's a marketing position with a tech company. Remote work with good pay and benefits. I start next month. It feels surreal to be re-entering the workforce after 5 years, but I'm ready. More than ready. Last night, Jake and I sat on the back porch and watched the sunset. It's become a bit of a ritual for us, this quiet time together at the end of the day. Do you ever wish things had turned out differently? He asked me. I thought about it carefully before answering. I wish your father had made different choices. I wish he'd valued what he had. I wish he'd been the man I thought he was. But no, I don't wish things had turned out differently, because then we wouldn't be here, you and me, stronger than we've ever been. He nodded thoughtfully. I'm glad I can walk again. But you know what I'm most glad about? What? That I got to stand up for you. Literally and figuratively. That when it mattered most, I was able to protect you the way you've always protected me. I took his hand and squeezed it. We protected each other. And that's the truth. In the end, this isn't just a story about betrayal and heartbreak. It's a story about resilience and love and two people who refused to let someone else's choices destroy them. Michael left. His paralyzed son stood up to stop a gas leak and exposed the affair in the process. And in the wreckage of one family, a stronger one emerged. Just Jake and me standing together, ready to face whatever comes next. I don't know what the future holds. I don't know if I'll ever fully trust someone romantically again. I don't know if the pain of Michael's betrayal will ever completely fade. But I know that I'm going to be okay. More than okay. Because I have Jake and Jake has me. We have each other. And in the end, that's all that really matters. The day everything unraveled was the worst day of my life. It was also, in a strange way, the beginning of the best part of my life. The part where I get to rediscover who I am outside of being someone's wife. The part where Jake and I get to build new dreams together. The part where I get to start over wiser and stronger than before. So yes, my husband left. But his son stood up in every sense that matters. And we're still standing, ready for whatever comes next. That's our story. That's our truth. And I'm finally ready to tell it. I thought that would be the end of it. I really did. I thought Michael would fade into the background of our lives. A painful chapter we'd eventually close. But life, as I've learned, rarely gives you the clean endings you hope for. It was about 3 months after the divorce was finalized when things took another turn. I was settling into my new job, Jake was thriving at school, and we were actually happy. Not the forced happiness of people trying to convince themselves everything's okay, but genuine, authentic happiness. Then Michael called. I almost didn't answer. His name on my phone screen still made my stomach clench. But something told me to pick up, so I did. Sarah. His voice sounded strained, tired. I need to talk to you. In person. Please. It's important. We have lawyers for a reason, Michael. Whatever you need to say can go through them. It's about Jake. And Vanessa. And everything. Please, Sarah. Just one conversation. You can choose where, when, whatever makes you comfortable. But I need to talk to you. Against my better judgment, I agreed to meet him at a coffee shop near my house. Neutral territory, public place. I told Jake where I was going, and he insisted on sitting at a table across the cafe, just to make sure I was safe. My protective son. Michael looked terrible when he walked in. He'd lost weight, had dark circles under his eyes, and his usual confident demeanor was completely gone. He sat down across from me and just stared at his hands for a long moment. Vanessa left me, he said finally. I blinked. What? She took Emma and left. Filed for full custody. I haven't seen my daughter in 3 weeks. I should have felt satisfaction. I should have thought, good, that's what you deserve. But instead I just felt tired. Why are you telling me this? I asked. Because I've been doing a lot of thinking. A lot of therapy, actually. And I've realized what a catastrophic mistake I made. Not just with you and Jake, but with everything. I destroyed my family for what I thought was love, but it was just escape. I was running from my responsibilities, from my fears, from everything that felt hard. Michael, please let me finish, he said, his eyes finally meeting mine. When Jake had his accident, I fell apart inside. I couldn't handle seeing him in that wheelchair. I couldn't handle the guilt I felt every day, knowing that if I'd been paying more attention, if I'd been there instead of working, maybe I could have prevented it somehow. So I ran. I threw myself into work, into business trips, and then into Vanessa. She was easy. She didn't know the old Jake, the one who used to run and laugh and live life at full speed. She didn't look at me with questions about why I wasn't doing more, being more, fixing more. He paused, wiping his eyes. I'd never seen Michael cry before. But Vanessa didn't know the real me either. She knew the version of me I presented on business trips, the fun weekend dad, the guy without real problems. When I moved to Phoenix full-time after our divorce, reality set in. I had a baby who cried all night. I had a partner who expected me to be fully present. I had all the same responsibilities I'd been running from, just with different people. And I couldn't handle it. I started working late, started being distant, started doing to Vanessa exactly what I did to you. So she left, I said quietly. She left. And she told me that I'm a coward who destroys everything he touches. She said I'm incapable of real love, because I'm too busy loving the idea of escape. He laughed bitterly. She's right. I took a sip of my coffee, processing this information. Why are you telling me all this, Michael? What do you want from me? I want to apologize. Really apologize. Not the half-hearted, I'm sorry you're hurt apology I gave before. I mean a real acknowledgement of what I did to you, to Jake, to our family. I was selfish. I was cruel. I was a coward. I betrayed you in the worst possible way. And I did it while you were sacrificing everything to care for my son. Our son, I corrected automatically. Right. Our son. The son who stood up to me, literally and figuratively, and showed me what real courage looks like. Michael's voice cracked. Sarah, I know I don't deserve your forgiveness. I know I can't undo what I did. But I need you to know that I see it now. I see what I had and I see what I threw away. And I'm so sorry. I sat there for a long moment, looking at this broken man across from me. A year ago, I would have done anything to hear these words. I would have cried, maybe even considered reconciliation. But now? Now I just felt sad for him. Thank you for the apology, I said finally. I accept it, but it doesn't change anything. You made your choices, Michael. You have to live with them. I know. I also wanted to ask about Jake. He won't return my calls or texts. I've tried to reach out, to explain, to ask for a chance to talk, but he's completely shut me out. I don't know what to do. That's between you and Jake, I said firmly. I won't pressure him to have a relationship with you. He's 18 now, almost 19. He's old enough to make his own decisions about who he wants in his life. Will you at least tell him I want to talk? That I want to try to make things right. I'll tell him you want to talk. But Michael, you can't make things right. You can apologize, you can try to build something new, but you can't undo what you did. Jake watched you betray us for 2 years. He carried that secret while learning to walk again. He stood up for me when you abandoned us. Those are experiences that changed him, shaped him. You don't get to erase that. Michael nodded miserably. I know. I miss my son. Both my children, actually. Emma's only 2. And Vanessa's already talking about limiting my visitation. I'm losing everyone. For a moment, just a moment, I felt sorry for him. Then I remembered all the nights I cried myself to sleep while he was in Phoenix playing Happy Family. I remembered Jake's face when he told me about the affair. I remembered the bank statements showing how much money he'd stolen from us. You're experiencing the consequences of your actions, I said, not unkindly but firmly. That's not the same as being a victim. You created this situation, Michael. You chose this. I know, he whispered. I know. We sat in silence for a moment longer, then I stood up. I hope you figure things out. I really do. For Emma's sake, if nothing else. She deserves a present father. But that's your work to do, not mine. Thank you for meeting with me, he said. And Sarah? You look good. Happy. I'm glad. I nodded and walked away, back to where Jake was sitting. He stood up immediately, searching my face for clues about how it went. You okay, Mom? He asked. Yeah, I said, and I meant it. I'm okay. Let's go home. That night, I told Jake about the conversation. I told him about Vanessa leaving, about Michael's apology, and about his request to talk. Jake listened quietly, his face unreadable. When I finished, he sat there for a long time just thinking. "Do you think I should talk to him?" he finally asked. "I think that's entirely up to you," I said. "Whatever you decide, I'll support you. If you want to hear him out, I understand. If you never want to speak to him again, I understand that too." "I don't know what I want," Jake admitted. "Part of me is still so angry. When I think about what he did to you, to us, I want to never see him again. But another part of me remembers the dad he used to be. Before the accident, before everything fell apart. He was a good dad back then. He coached my soccer team. He taught me to ride a bike. He was there." "People are complicated," I said. "Your father is capable of both great love and great selfishness. Both things can be true at the same time." "Did you forgive him?" Jake asked. I thought about it carefully. I accepted his apology. I let go of the anger I was carrying because that anger was hurting me more than him. But forgiveness? I don't know. Maybe someday. Or maybe I'll just move forward without needing to forgive or not forgive. Maybe I'll just accept what happened and keep building my new life. Jake nodded slowly. "I think I want to talk to him. Not because I forgive him or because I want him back in my life the way he was. But because I have things I need to say. Things he needs to hear." "Okay," I said. "When you're ready, I'll help you set it up." 2 weeks later, Jake met with Michael. I drove him there but stayed in the car, giving them privacy. They met at a park neutral ground and talked for almost 2 hours. When Jake came back to the car, his eyes were red from crying, but his shoulders seemed lighter somehow. "How did it go?" I asked carefully. "It was hard," he said. "But necessary." I told him everything I've been feeling. All the anger, the hurt, the betrayal. I told him about how I felt when I discovered his affair, about the decision I made to gather evidence instead of telling you right away. I told him how much it hurt to watch him prepare to abandon us. What did he say? He cried. A lot. He apologized, tried to explain, but I told him I didn't want explanations. I wanted him to just listen. And he did. For once, he actually listened without making excuses. "Are you glad you talked to him?" Jake considered this. "Yeah, I think I am. I don't know if we'll have a relationship going forward. Right now I'm not ready for that. But at least now he knows how I feel. He can't pretend he doesn't know the damage he caused." "I'm proud of you," I told him. "It takes real strength to face someone who's hurt you and speak your truth." "I learned from the best," he said, squeezing my hand. Life continued to move forward. Jake got accepted to his top choice university, about 3 hours away from home. Far enough for independence, close enough to visit regularly. I helped him pack, trying not to cry as we loaded boxes into the car. The night before we left for move-in day, we had dinner together, just the two of us. It had become our tradition, these dinners together, and I was going to miss them terribly. "Mom," Jake said suddenly, "I've been thinking about something." "What's that?" "I want to change my last name. Legally. To just yours. I don't want Dad's name anymore. He doesn't deserve to have that connection to me." I was surprised. "Jake, that's a big decision. Are you sure?" "I'm sure. You're the one who raised me. You're the one who was there through everything. You're my real parent in every way that matters. I want my name to reflect that." I started crying, the happy kind this time. "If that's what you want, I'll support you completely." "It is," he said firmly. "I'm done carrying his name when he couldn't be bothered to carry his responsibilities." We filed the paperwork the next week. Jake officially became Jake Fletcher, with no connection to Michael's surname. It was symbolic, sure, but symbols matter. College move-in day was bittersweet. I helped Jake set up his dorm room, met his roommate, embarrassed him in front of other students by taking too many pictures. Normal mom stuff. But when it was time to say goodbye, I completely fell apart. "Mom, I'm only 3 hours away," Jake laughed, hugging me tight. "I'll be home for Thanksgiving. That's only 2 months." "I know," I sniffled. "I'm just going to miss you so much. This house is going to be so quiet without you." "You'll be fine," he said confidently. "You've got your job, your friends. And who knows? Maybe you'll even start dating again." I made a face. "Absolutely not. I'm done with all that." "Never say never, Mom. You deserve to be happy. To have someone who appreciates you and treats you right. When you're ready, whenever that is, I want you to be open to it. We'll see, I said non-committally. Right now, I'm happy just being me. And I was. For the first time in my adult life, I was content being alone. Not lonely, alone. There's a difference. I had my work, which I genuinely enjoyed. I had reconnected with old friends. I'd started taking art classes at the community center. I was discovering parts of myself that had gotten lost somewhere in the years of being a wife and caregiver. About a month after Jake left for college, something unexpected happened. I ran into an old friend from my previous job, a guy named David who I'd always gotten along with. We grabbed coffee, caught up on the years since we'd last seen each other, and it was nice, easy, comfortable. We should do this again sometime, he said as we were leaving. I'd like that, I heard myself say. And we did. We met for coffee again the next week, then dinner the week after that. It wasn't dating, not really. Just two old friends reconnecting. But there was definitely something there, some spark of possibility. When I mentioned it to Jake during one of our phone calls, he was delighted. See? I told you, he said. David sounds nice. Are you going to go out with him? I don't know, I admitted. It feels weird. Like I'm betraying something, even though I know that doesn't make sense. Mom, you're not betraying anything. Dad betrayed you. You don't owe him loyalty. If David makes you happy, if he treats you right, then you should explore that. When did you get so wise? I asked, smiling. I learned from the best, he repeated, the phrase that had become our little inside joke. I did eventually go on a real date with David. Just dinner and a movie, nothing fancy. But it was the first time I'd felt butterflies in my stomach in years. David was kind, funny, and genuinely interested in my life. He asked about Jake, about my work, about my art classes. He listened when I talked. He made me laugh. It was terrifying and exhilarating all at once. Meanwhile, I heard through mutual connections that Michael was struggling. He'd lost his job, apparently due to the complications in his personal life affecting his work performance. Vanessa had indeed limited his visitation with Emma to supervised visits only. He'd moved into a small apartment and was reportedly deeply depressed. Part of me felt vindicated. This was karma, consequences, justice. But another part of me just felt sad. Sad for the family we could have been. Sad for the man Michael could have been if he'd made different choices. Sad for Emma, who would grow up with a broken father. But mostly I felt grateful. Grateful that I'd survived. Grateful for Jake. Grateful for the new life I was building. Grateful that I'd learned I was strong enough to stand on my own. Jake came home for Thanksgiving, and it was wonderful. He'd grown even more in the few months he'd been away. More confident, more sure of himself, more independent. He regaled me with stories about his classes, his friends, his experiences. I joined the adaptive sports club at school, he told me excitedly. I'm mentoring younger students with spinal injuries, helping them with their recovery, sharing my story. It feels really good, Mom. Like maybe everything I went through wasn't for nothing. Maybe I can use it to help other people. I couldn't have been prouder. On Thanksgiving Day, just the two of us, we talked about everything we were grateful for. Jake went first. I'm grateful for you, Mom. For everything you've done for me. Everything you've sacrificed. Everything you've taught me about strength and courage and love. I'm grateful for my recovery. For the chance to walk again. I'm grateful for the opportunity to go to college, to meet new people, to discover who I am. And weirdly, I'm even a little bit grateful for everything that happened with Dad. I raised my eyebrows. Really? Yeah. I mean, it sucked. It hurt like hell. But it taught me what I don't want to be. It showed me the kind of man I'm determined to never become. It pushed me to stand up, both literally and figuratively. It brought you and me closer together. So yeah, in a twisted way, I'm grateful for the lessons, even if I wish we'd learned them some other way. When it was my turn, I found myself getting emotional. I'm grateful for you, Jake. You're the best thing that ever happened to me. I'm grateful that I survived the worst year of my life and came out stronger. I'm grateful for my job, my friends, my new life. I'm grateful that I discovered I don't need someone else to complete me. And like you, I'm grateful for the lessons, even the painful ones. They taught me who I really am. We clinked our glasses of sparkling cider together and smiled at each other across the table. After Thanksgiving, life settled into a new rhythm. Jake would come home for holidays and occasional weekends. David and I continued to see each other, slowly building something genuine and healthy. My career was flourishing. I'd even gotten a promotion and a significant raise. And then, about 6 months later, I got a call from an unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. Sarah? It's Michael's mother, Patricia. My former mother-in-law. We hadn't spoken since the divorce, though we'd had a good relationship before everything fell apart. Patricia, hi. Is everything okay? Not really, she said, her voice heavy. It's Michael. He's in the hospital. He tried to kill himself. The world tilted. Despite everything, despite all the hurt and betrayal, I felt a punch of fear and sadness. Is he okay? He will be. Physically anyway. But Sarah, he's asking for you. And for Jake. I know I have no right to ask this, but would you consider visiting him? I think he needs closure. I think you all do. I talked to Jake about it. He was angry at first, then thoughtful, then resolved. We should go, he said. Not for him. For us. So we can close this chapter completely. We visited Michael in the psychiatric ward 3 days later. He looked awful, thin, pale, defeated. When he saw Jake walk in, he started crying. You came, he whispered. We came, Jake said firmly. But we're not here to absolve you or fix you, Dad. We're here to say goodbye. Properly this time. Over the next hour, we had the hardest conversation of our lives. Michael talked about his guilt, his regrets, his complete breakdown after losing everything. He talked about how he'd been so consumed by shame that he couldn't see a way forward. Jake and I listened. We didn't offer comfort or forgiveness. We just listened. Finally, Jake spoke. Dad, what you did was terrible. You broke our family. You betrayed Mom in the worst way possible. You abandoned us. Those are facts, and they'll always be true. But killing yourself won't fix any of that. It'll just create more pain, more damage. Emma needs a father. A real one, a present one. If you want to make amends for what you did, then you need to do the work. Get help. Get better. Be the father you should have been all along. I don't know if I can, Michael said brokenly. Then that's your choice, I said quietly. But Jake and I are done carrying your guilt for you. We're done being collateral damage in your self-destruction. You need to decide if you want to live and do better, or if you want to give up. But either way, we're moving forward with our lives. It was harsh, maybe even cruel. But it was honest. And sometimes honesty is the kindest thing you can offer. Michael stayed in treatment for 3 months. During that time, Jake and I moved forward with our lives. We didn't wait for him to get better. We didn't put our healing on hold. We just kept going. When Michael was released, he reached out to apologize again. But this time it was different. He didn't ask for forgiveness or reconciliation. He just thanked us for visiting him, for giving him a reason to choose life, and for being honest with him about the consequences of his actions. He moved to a different city, started working with a therapist specializing in parental alienation and restoration. He began the slow, difficult work of rebuilding a relationship with Emma. He sent Jake occasional messages, not asking for anything, just letting him know he was thinking of him and hoping he was well. Jake didn't always respond, but sometimes he did. Small steps towards something that might eventually become a cordial relationship, though it would never be what it was. As for me, I kept building my life. David and I eventually moved in together, taking things slow but steady. He was everything Michael wasn't: present, honest, appreciative, committed. He loved me for exactly who I was, not who he wanted me to be. When I introduced him to Jake, I was nervous. But Jake liked him immediately. He's good for you, Mom, Jake said afterward. He makes you smile. Really smile, not that fake smile you used to give Dad toward the end. You noticed that? I noticed everything, Jake said. I always have. Jake graduated college with honors. He decided to pursue a master's degree in physical therapy, specializing in spinal injury recovery. His own experience had shown him his calling, and I couldn't have been prouder. At his graduation, as I watched him walk across that stage, walk not roll walk, I thought about everything we'd been through. The accident, the years in the wheelchair, the betrayal, the divorce, his miraculous recovery, the confrontation with his father, all of it. We'd survived. More than survived, we'd thrived. That night, at dinner celebrating his graduation, Jake raised his glass. To Mom, he said, who taught me that standing up isn't just about using your legs. It's about using your voice, your courage, your strength. It's about refusing to stay down when life knocks you over. I learned to walk again, but you taught me how to stand. I raised my glass, tears streaming down my face. To us. To surviving. To starting over. To standing together. To standing together, he echoed. And we were. Standing together, stronger than ever. Ready for whatever life threw at us next. Because in the end, my husband did leave. His paralyzed son did stand up to stop a gas leak and expose the affair. But the real story is about what happened next. About two people who refused to let betrayal define them. About love, real love, the kind that stands up when everything else falls apart. That's our story. All of it. The pain and the healing. The betrayal and the redemption. The falling and the standing back up. And I wouldn't change a single thing because it made us who we are today. Stronger. Wiser. Unbreakable. Together. I'm sitting on my back porch again, watching another sunset. But this time things are different. David is in the kitchen making dinner, humming to himself. Jake is visiting for the weekend with his fiancée Maria, a brilliant pediatric nurse he met during his residency. They're getting married next spring, and I've never seen my son happier. Michael is still in our lives peripherally. He's become a decent grandfather to Emma, who visits us occasionally. She's 7 now. A sweet girl who has no idea about the complicated history between all of us. Jake has built a cordial relationship with his father. They talk once a month, meet for coffee a few times a year. It's not what it was, and it never will be, but it's something. A new kind of relationship built on honesty rather than obligation. Michael remarried last year, to a woman named Helen who's a therapist. She's good for him, keeps him grounded, calls him out when he needs it. He's a different person now, humbler, more self-aware, more present. The therapy worked eventually. He'll never get back what he lost, but he's learned to live with that and be better going forward. As for me, I'm the director of marketing at my company now. David and I got married 2 years ago in a small ceremony with close friends and family. Jake walked me down the aisle, and there wasn't a dry eye in the house. David treats me like I'm precious, like I matter, like my thoughts and feelings are important. It's still strange sometimes being loved this well. I still have moments where the old pain resurfaces. Anniversaries, certain songs, unexpected memories. But they're fewer and farther between now. The wound has scarred over, and while the scar is still there, it doesn't hurt anymore. It's just part of my story. Jake finished his doctorate in physical therapy, and now runs a clinic specializing in spinal injury recovery. He's helped dozens of people regain mobility, giving them the hope and expertise that helped him. He says every patient reminds him of why he went through what he did, so he could be the person who understands, who's been there, who can say, I know it seems impossible, but you can do this, and actually mean it. Last month, Jake asked me to speak at a conference about caregiving and resilience. I was terrified, but I did it. I told our story, not all the details but the important parts. About loving someone through their darkest moments. About finding strength you didn't know you had. About standing up when everything tells you to stay down. After my speech, a woman approached me with tears in her eyes. She told me her husband had just been diagnosed with ALS, and she was terrified of becoming his caregiver, of losing herself in the process. I held her hands and told her the truth. It would be harder than anything she'd ever done. But she was stronger than she knew. And no matter what happened, she would survive. As I watched her walk away with her shoulders a little straighter, I realized something. My story, our story matters. Not because it's unique or special, but because it's real. It's proof that you can survive betrayal. That you can rebuild after everything falls apart. That standing up isn't a one-time thing. It's a choice you make every single day. The gas leak that day 5 years ago could have killed us. But instead it saved us. It forced Jake to stand up and reveal the truth. It exposed the lies that were poisoning our family. It gave us the chance to start over, to build something real and authentic and strong. Sometimes I wonder what would have happened if Jake hadn't been able to walk. If he hadn't smelled the gas. If he hadn't gathered all that evidence, would I still be in that marriage, slowly dying inside while Michael lived his double life? Would Jake still be in his wheelchair, keeping secrets to protect me? I'll never know, and I'm glad I don't have to, because this is the life we have now. This is the family we built from the ashes of the old one. And it's beautiful. Jake comes out to the porch now, Maria beside him. Mom, dinner's almost ready. David sent me to get you. Coming, I say, standing up. Jake hugs me suddenly, fiercely. I love you, Mom. Thank you for everything. For never giving up on me, on yourself, on us. I love you too, sweetheart. Always. As we walk inside together, Jake's arm around my shoulders, I think about that scared, broken woman I was 5 years ago. The one who thought her life was ending. I wish I could go back and tell her, it gets better. You get stronger. You survive this and you build something even more beautiful on the other side. But I can't go back. None of us can. We can only move forward, carrying our scars and our lessons and our hard-won wisdom. And that's exactly what we're doing. So that's my story. From betrayal to healing, from wheelchair to walking, from broken to whole. It's messy and complicated and painful and beautiful, just like life itself. If you're going through something similar right now, whether it's betrayal, loss, illness, or any other kind of heartbreak, I want you to know, you will survive this. It might not feel like it right now. You might feel like you're drowning, like you'll never be okay again. But you will. You're stronger than you know. You have more courage than you realize. And even when you can't stand on your own, there are people who will stand with you until you can. Never forget that. And remember, standing up isn't always about your legs. Sometimes it's about your heart, your voice, your refusal to let circumstances define you. Stand up. Speak your truth. Build your new life. You've got this. If you've made it this far in my story, thank you. Thank you for listening, for caring, for investing your time in understanding what Jake and I went through. Writing this all down, sharing it with the world. It's been harder than I expected, but also more healing than I could have imagined. I know some of you reading this might be going through your own betrayals right now. Maybe you just discovered your partner's affair. Maybe you're in the middle of a devastating divorce. Maybe you're caring for a loved one while your own needs go ignored. Maybe you feel like your whole world is crumbling, and you don't know how to pick up the pieces. I see you. I was you. And I need you to hear this. What you're feeling right now, the pain, the anger, the confusion, the absolute devastation, it's all valid. Every bit of it. Don't let anyone tell you to get over it or move on before you're ready. Healing isn't linear. Some days you'll feel strong and capable. Other days you'll cry in the shower and wonder if you'll ever feel whole again. Both of those days are okay. Both are part of the journey. When I was in the thick of it, when I had just discovered Michael's affair and his secret child, I couldn't imagine ever feeling happy again. I couldn't picture a future where I wasn't defined by his betrayal. I thought I'd be broken forever, that the pain would never fade, that I'd never trust anyone again. But here I am, 5 years later, genuinely happy. Not pretending, not faking it, actually truly happy. I have a career I love. I have a partner who cherishes me. I have a son who became my hero. I have a life that feels authentic and full and mine. If I can get here from where I was, so can you. Here's what I learned that I wish someone had told me back then. First, your pain doesn't make you weak. Crying doesn't make you pathetic. Being devastated by betrayal doesn't mean you're fragile. It means you loved deeply, trusted fully, and invested everything in something you believed was real. That's not weakness, that's courage. The weak ones are the people who betray that trust, not the ones who grieve its loss. Second, you don't have to forgive to heal. I spent so much time thinking I had to forgive Michael to move forward. But forgiveness is personal and complicated, and you don't owe it to anyone. What you do need to do is release the hold that anger has on you. You need to stop letting their betrayal consume your thoughts and poison your present. That's different from forgiveness. That's just choosing yourself. Third, you are not responsible for someone else's choices. Michael didn't cheat because I wasn't enough. He cheated because he was broken inside and made a selfish choice. If you've been betrayed, it's not because you weren't pretty enough, smart enough, attentive enough, or anything enough. It's because the person who betrayed you chose their own desires over their commitment to you. That's on them, not you. Fourth, children are more resilient and perceptive than we give them credit for. If you're worried about your kids, know this. They're probably already aware that something's wrong. They see more than we think. What they need from you isn't perfection or a fake happy family. They need honesty, stability, and to see you modeling how to handle hard things with dignity. Jake watched me fall apart and put myself back together. He learned from both. Don't hide your humanity from your children. Let them see you be real. Fifth, starting over isn't giving up. When I quit my marriage, I wasn't quitting on love or family or commitment. I was refusing to accept crumbs when I deserved a feast. I was choosing to believe that I was worth more than being someone's obligation. If you're facing a decision about whether to stay or go, remember, choosing yourself isn't selfish. It's necessary. Sixth, healing takes as long as it takes. Don't rush it. Don't let anyone pressure you to be over it on their timeline. Took me years to feel truly okay. Years to trust again. Years to stop having moments where the old pain would surge up unexpectedly. And that's fine. There's no prize for healing faster. Take your time. And finally, you will laugh again. You will feel joy again. You will have moments where you forget to be sad. And when those moments come, don't feel guilty about them. Don't think you're betraying yourself or your pain by experiencing happiness. You're not. You're just remembering that you're more than what happened to you. I also want to talk to anyone out there who might be in Jake's position. The child caught in the middle of a parent's betrayal. Maybe you've discovered your mom's or dad's affair. Maybe you're keeping secrets to protect someone. Maybe you're torn between two parents and don't know where your loyalty should lie. Here's what I want you to know. It's not your job to fix your parents' marriage. It's not your responsibility to keep secrets that are eating you alive. It's not your fault that your family is broken. And you get to feel however you feel about the parent who betrayed your family. Anger, disappointment, sadness, or even a complicated mix of love and hurt. All of it is valid. Jake carried the weight of his father's betrayal for 3 months while literally learning to walk again. That's trauma layered on top of trauma. But he also learned that he was strong enough to handle it, brave enough to speak up, and worthy of better. If you're in a similar situation, please talk to someone you trust. Don't carry that weight alone. And to anyone who might be thinking about having an affair, or who's currently in one, please stop. Please think about the devastation you're about to cause. Michael didn't just hurt me. He damaged his relationship with his son, destroyed 2 families, and created trauma that rippled through everyone who loved him. He lost years of his life to depression and regret. He missed watching Jake grow up. He broke something that can never be fully repaired. If you're unhappy in your relationship, deal with it honestly. Go to counseling. Have hard conversations. End the relationship if you need to. But don't lie. Don't cheat. Don't build a secret life while someone who loves you is building a future around your lies. The temporary excitement isn't worth the permanent damage. Looking back now, I can see the whole arc of the story. The happy beginning, the slow decline, the devastating revelation, the painful rebuilding, and finally, the new life that emerged from the ashes. It's tempting to wish the middle parts hadn't happened, but they made me who I am. They taught me lessons I couldn't have learned any other way. I learned that I'm stronger than I ever imagined. I learned that I don't need a partner to be complete. I'm already whole on my own. I learned that love shouldn't hurt, shouldn't require you to shrink yourself, shouldn't make you question your worth. I learned that sometimes the worst thing that happens to you becomes the catalyst for the best thing. I learned that healing isn't about going back to who you were before. It's about becoming someone new, someone forged by fire and stronger for it. Jake and I joke sometimes that we're like phoenixes, we burn down and rose from our own ashes. And in a way, that's exactly what happened. The old Sarah, the one who lived for her husband's approval and defined herself through caring for others, she's gone. The new Sarah knows her own worth, stands her ground, and builds her life on her own terms. And Jake? Jake went from a boy in a wheelchair to a man who helps others stand. He turned his trauma into his calling. He took the worst thing that ever happened to him and used it to help other people. That's not just surviving, that's transforming. So yes, my husband left. Yes, his paralyzed son stood up to stop a gas leak and exposed the affair. Yes, it was devastating and painful and nearly destroyed us. But here's what also happened. We survived. We healed. We built something new and beautiful from the rubble of what was broken. And if we can do it, so can you. Whatever you're facing right now, whatever mountain seems impossible to climb, Whatever pain feels too big to survive, you can do this. You're stronger than you know. You have reserves of courage you haven't tapped yet. And on the days when you can't stand on your own, lean on others until you can. Because that's what this story is really about. It's not about betrayal or wheelchairs or gas leaks. It's about the incredible resilience of the human spirit. It's about love that shows up when everything else falls apart. Your story isn't over. This painful chapter? It's just that, a chapter. There are so many more pages ahead, and you get to write them. You get to decide what happens next. You get to choose who you become on the other side of this. Choose strength. Choose healing. Choose yourself. And never ever forget you matter. Your pain matters. Your healing matters. Your future matters. You've got this. I believe in you. And I'm standing with you even from here. Keep going. The best parts of your story haven't been written yet. Thank you so much for reading my story. If it resonated with you, if it gave you hope or helped you feel less alone, please consider subscribing to this channel. I share stories of survival, resilience, and healing because I believe we're all stronger together. Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss a story. Join our community of survivors who refuse to stay down, who choose to stand up again and again, no matter how many times life knocks them over. Leave a comment below and let me know your thoughts. I read every single one, and your stories inspire me just as much as I hope mine inspires you. Whether you're in the middle of your own storm or you've come out the other side, your voice matters here. This is a safe space to share, to heal, to connect. And if you know someone who needs to hear this story, someone going through a divorce, dealing with betrayal, caring for a loved one, or just struggling to see the light at the end of the tunnel, please share this video with them. Sometimes knowing that someone else made it through can be the lifeline we desperately need. Your share could be what helps someone choose to keep going. Until next time, keep standing, keep fighting, keep believing in your strength, keep choosing yourself, keep moving forward even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. You matter. Your story matters. Your healing matters. And you are so much stronger than you know. I'll see you in the next video.